So we also want to understand this idea of algebraic inverse, which relates to the function in the function flowchart. An algebraic inverse is essentially the opposite. Okay, so if I go through a function from left to right, so in this direction here, we can undo every function by using an algebraic inverse or an opposite. So here we have the function 3 to the power x. If the input is 4, 3 to the power 4 gives us an output of 81. Well, if a function exists, there must be an algebraic inverse, something that undoes this function. And what that function will do is, or the inverse function, it will take the 81 as an input and give us 4 as an output. And when we talk about this particular inverse, or inverse of an exponential, we're talking about logarithms. And this is going to be new in Math 12. We're going to undo exponential functions. So this works just like the inverse sine is opposite of sine x. Okay, so here we have the inverse of sine is the opposite of sine x. It undoes the sine x, so sine takes an angle and outputs a ratio. The inverse sine will take an input, which is a ratio, and give us the angle as an output. And this idea of inverse is very important because every function has an inverse. And so, for example, our plus has an inverse of minus. Our times has an opposite of divide. We want to expand this now into powers and roots. So for powers, our inverses are roots. For sines or trig, we have inverse, which undoes the sine function. For exponents, we're going to learn something new, which is the log. It undoes the log. So we want to connect this idea of function doing something and the inverse undoing that. And a function is going to do something and gives us patterns in a graph. And that's what how we connect this idea of function back to this idea of graphing. Okay, when we talk about graphs of things and functions.